The tension in Eastern Europe has reached a breaking point. Belarus, long considered a tightly controlled ally of Russia, is now facing internal collapse as its most elite military It's reportedly turned their weapons away from the regime. The sudden and shocking defection of these special forces has sent shockwaves across the region, raising one critical question. Can President Alexander Lukashenko survive this? The crisis is not just a domestic mutiny. It's a geopolitical earthquake that could redraw the balance of power in Europe and beyond. From the outside, Belarus still presents the image of an iron-fisted state, a country built around centralized control, military discipline, and loyalty to Moscow. The exterior looks unshaken with tanks stationed in Minsk, armored vehicles patrolling the streets, and state media trying to project calm. But beneath this controlled image, something deeper is breaking. Soldiers who once swore allegiance to Lukashenko are now refusing to obey. Reports indicate entire bases have gone silent, while others have raised the national flag instead of the regime's insignia. What began as quiet discontent among the lower ranks has now evolved into an organized defection. This is not just another protest. It is the potential unraveling of a regime that stood unchallenged for nearly 3 decades. Inside the country, the atmosphere is explosive. The interior of Belarus is no longer the calm, disciplined society it once pretended to be. Entire cities have turned into pressure chambers of unrest and suspicion. The once loyal KGB and military intelligence officers are struggling to contain what's now described as a chain reaction of rebellion. From Brest to Gol, civilians have taken to the streets, emboldened by news that elite soldiers, including members of the 5th Brigade, have declared their allegiance to the people rather than to Lukashenko. Government buildings are fortified, checkpoints have multiplied, and the capital is reportedly under a lockdown. The regime's internal communications are breaking down as commanders hesitate to follow orders, unsure who is still loyal. Meanwhile, social media is flooded with unverified clips of soldiers joining protests and tearing down regime banners. This deep interior fracture reveals a system collapsing from within, not through foreign interference, but through the disintegration of its own foundation, trust, and control. Performance-wise, Belarus's military structure is crumbling under its own contradictions. Once regarded as one of the most disciplined in Eastern Europe, its performance in maintaining national stability is now under question. Lukashenko's long dependence on Moscow for funding and security training has turned into a liability. The same systems designed to ensure loyalty have created frustration among the ranks, especially as soldiers are asked to suppress their own people while Russia's war in Ukraine drains resources. The result is a loss of morale and direction. Even Moscow's advisors who once trained these troops are reportedly withdrawing personnel back to Russia, fearing spillover unrest. The performance of the Belarusian state machinery has never been this weak. Bureaucrats are fleeing. The media is censored and the chain of command is faltering at every level. In terms of safety, both the civilian population and foreign diplomats are at risk. The safety features of the regime, surveillance, curfews, checkpoints, are now turning into dangers themselves. The more the state tightens its grip, the more explosive the backlash becomes. Cities that once boasted of order are now under sporadic clashes between army defectors and internal police. Neighboring countries like Poland and Lithuania have gone on high alert, closing parts of their borders and preparing for potential refugee inflows. For the first time, the European Union's intelligence agencies are openly discussing contingency plans for a post-Lukashenko Belarus. In short, safety is collapsing across all levels for the people, the government, and even for those trying to hold on to power. Halfway through this unfolding chaos, welcome to Red Alert Conflict, your trusted source for deep military and geopolitical analysis from around the world. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do so because situations like Belarus are evolving fast, and every new hour reveals another layer of this complex crisis. What makes this situation uniquely dangerous is the mixture of military rebellion and political vacuum. The unique selling point of this crisis, if one can call it that, lies in its unpredictability. Belarus has always been Moscow's strategic buffer against NATO. Losing control of Minsk would mean the Kremlin's western flank is exposed and NATO's influence could creep right up to Russia's doorstep. That's why reports suggest that Russian special advisors have already landed near Minsk, under the guise of stabilization missions. On the other hand, many Belarusians view this as an opportunity, a moment to reclaim independence not only from Lukashenko, but also from Moscow's shadow. It's this dual struggle, one against domestic dictatorship and another against foreign dominance, that gives this rebellion its unique and historic weight. In terms of the so-called price, the cost of this internal breakdown is staggering. Economically, Belarus is already on the brink of free fall. International investors have withdrawn. Sanctions are tightening and the currency is slipping fast. Militarily, the country's chain of command is fractured beyond repair. Every new defection adds to the financial and political cost of Lukashenko's survival. Diplomatically, his isolation deepens. Few nations are willing to back a regime that appears to be collapsing in real time. For Moscow, the price is also immense. Losing Belarus would not just weaken its strategic posture, it would symbolically mark another failure in maintaining regional dominance after Ukraine. In conclusion, Belarus stands at a historic crossroad. The regime is bleeding from within. Its soldiers are rebelling, and the people are awakening after years of suppression. The world is watching as a once unshakable dictatorship trembles under the weight of its own contradictions. Whether Lukashenko survives or falls depends not only on military might, but on whether he can still command the loyalty of a nation that seems to have lost all faith in him. The next few days could determine not only the fate of Belarus, but also the balance of power in Europe. If you want continuous updates and in-depth analysis on this developing crisis, don't forget to subscribe to Red Alert Conflict and stay informed. Because in a world where alliances shift overnight, the truth is your strongest defense.